Week 3. Well, I thought we'd start slightly differently and we would try a bit of a game of COVID 101. So what would be your one thing to get rid of out of this whole thing?
Unprecedented. I am so fed up.
The word.
With the word unprecedented.
Okay.
We all get that it's unprecedented. You don't need to say it anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, we've never been here before. We've never done it. Yes, it's unprecedented times. I don't need to see it.
Or hear it.
Anymore.
Okay.
So if we can just
stop using
throw
that word. Great.
Room 101, gone.
Gone.
Very happy Sally.
Nice. Diane, what would you get rid of out of this COVID?
I think probably people going over the top of the 2 metre distancing thing, because when we've gone for walks around here, people actually drive past you but go into the other lane so that they are 2 metres away from you.
Oh, so you mean
in
like
their car.
Physically driving into the middle of the road to avoid you walking on the pavement?
Yes.
Another one would be, I think, when you have a conversation with someone and you say that you've met somebody, and the caveat that you have to put on every single time. So you say, I was walking down the road and I saw someone. I said, obviously we social distanced.
No, that's a good one.
So
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times. So we're in week 3 now. We're doing the same thing. That we're looking back at the weeks as we've gone on, and we are kind of seeing where we're at now with it. So last week was quite a low week in terms of the things we were dealing with. Week 3 was a much heavier week for you, wasn't it? One of the things that we were talking about, we're going to call him Mr. P for this context, but tell us a little bit about his story and what happened in week 3 with him.
So Mr. P's one of our regular customers at Sage Hats. He will come here most days and either have something to eat with us or activities, and he's also known for making lots of phone calls to us just to check in to see what's on during the course of the day normally, and he was particularly anxious in week 3 because he couldn't find his bus pass.
Right.
And that for him is extremely difficult, because although he falls into the group of individuals who should be shielding, because he is vulnerable, he doesn't and couldn't understand the concept around the fact of shielding, and one of his greatest pleasures is being out and about all of the time.
Right.
So the loss of the bus pass was huge for him. That's his independence and everything else sort of just taken away from him in an instant. And when Mr. P gets anxious, his, like all of us, his thought processes change, and he was making lots of phone calls to us during the course of that week. Before, we would probably have 2, maybe 3 conversations with him during the course of the day, normally just to say hi, yes, we're open or whatever. And now when we actually play that forward, we're getting, because of the nature of how the lockdown has progressed and what's been going on in the world, those phone calls can be up to 20 times a day now.
Wow. And
for 10 minutes at a time. And he struggles to understand the concept of the virus, and his thought is that it's people that are causing this issue. Right. So he's obviously understood to a degree the idea that he has to stay home and stay safe, but he can't actually stop himself from going out.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time working with him and talking to him about the fact that he needs to stay home. But for anyone, that's incredibly difficult if you live alone, which he does, and he lives alone with dementia.
And he's an incredibly social man, isn't he? He loves talking to people, he loves being around. I mean, you know him, some of your friends know him, and...
Yeah, he lives near friend of mine who's got a business, a salon, and I'd seen him around quite a lot, and she knew him because he regularly used to pop in and say hi. So I knew about him before I came to work here. So when I did come in here, I was really pleased when I saw him, actually, because he's a really nice guy. He's really, really friendly.
So he's lost his bus pass. He's really stressing about everything that's going on. He's calling us a lot more. Like, how do we help him? What did we do?
So we managed to sort him out with a replacement bus pass.
Wow.
Which normally you would have to pay for, but we worked our magic and managed to get a replacement sent to him. And actually I was on the phones on the Saturday when his new card bus pass arrived through the post, and it was my first phone call on the Saturday, where he was just bouncing around so happy that he had a bus pass again. And of course then we were back to the old scenario of, oh dear, we've now got to try and stop him getting on the bus as much as we can, because actually that's not that safe for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are, sort of 5 weeks on from there now. How is Mr. P? Is he still going out, or how's that going?
He's still going out.
Okay.
Especially with the nice weather, that's been really challenging for him. It's almost easier if it's raining, quite honestly. And he lives relatively close to the beach, so he likes to go walking on the beach. The problem and the difficulty is that he struggles with the concept of social distancing. That doesn't make any sense for somebody who's very sociable, as you say. So life is incredibly difficult for him. What we have managed to do is get another extra care call put in for him at midday, so that he has to return to his place, his home. And that's just kind of in a way, a bit of a trick, if you like, to make sure he's not out for the entire day. But that does he does then go home and spend some time there, and then we do our best to sort of suggest to him that we're staying safe, and that's what he's interested in as well, is are we okay? Is Sage House open? And we remind him daily that no, Sage House is closed. But then, the way we go about it is we're staying safe, we're staying at home, and that's what we all need to do at the moment. So
and I think one of the positives from us doing our activity and wellbeing packs is you've actually been able to deliver a couple of packs to him, so you've kind of seen him a couple of times, haven't you?
Yeah, I have seen him, and he has looked really well. And some of that, obviously, we've had really nice weather, but he's loved the packs. But I think probably more he's like the photographs of the staff from the packs, which was obviously a nice touch. So that's made him feel a bit closer to everybody, hasn't it? So
great.
I understand he has the most amazing suntan at the moment.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. Sounds like me. So I think the second thing that we wanted to talk about, I mean, it's quite a difficult one, so we're going to leave it up to you to just talk about. But week 3 was the week where you had to make the decision to furlough staff or not furlough staff. So do you want to just run us through how you're feeling, maybe your emotions, maybe your thought processes around that?
Yeah. The process of furloughing, it took a while to for the government to state exactly what was involved in it. So that's why we sort of had to wait a few weeks. And then, of course, with the management team, we sort of sat down and discussed, okay, who is doing what within the business at the moment. It's about, people who are contributing towards delivery at this time, and coming up with the list kind of was challenging to do in the first place. So the phone calls themselves, the process itself, isn't that awful, because it kind of feels like you're saying, please don't worry about coming to work for the next few weeks, possibly months, we don't know at the moment, but don't worry, we're gonna pay you. So in a way, that's not a horrible phone call to make. Where the problem was for me was that it felt really final. It kind of was a nail in the coffin of, actually, we have closed services down. We aren't going to see our day breaks customers come in, and I guess it's that realisation that it's gone. And because you haven't even got the people around that would operate it. So I think that was what was particularly difficult, was that for me it was okay, I've seen the process of mothballing Sage House, but now a lot of the staff are not going to be around either.
Yeah.
So that, personally, for me, was quite challenging.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're still down the line, and like you said already, we still don't really know, we don't have an end date for that, so people that were furloughed are still furloughed. But it's been great because we are running weekly team meetings, and some of those staff are jumping in. They're not mandatory, but people are just jumping in and out when they can. It's been lovely to see people, I mean, even people that were just working from home. It's lovely to see people, but lovely to see staff who are still like, yes, I'm furloughed, but I still really want to hear what's going on. It's been great to hear staff getting involved and taking part in the communication that we're putting out, which is, we want to talk to each other, we want to share stories, we want to be involved. So being part of all of those meetings, I think, has become like a really great way of doing that.
Yeah, and I think what's really lovely with those meetings as well is we'd gone through quite a heavy recruitment process just before COVID hit, and we'd offered jobs to people that would have started by now.
Yes.
And where we are. And actually those meetings, those new members of staff, although they've not actually started with us yet, they are joining in with those meetings, which is lovely because they're getting to know the team. And it kind of feels like, you know, we're holding on to something good.
Yeah, absolutely.
While that's going on.
Yeah. And then thirdly, you had a conversation with Age UK about a brand new service, not just taking a service that we had before and extending it, but a brand new service. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Sure. So Age UK are work very closely with the County Council, and were very much seen, because they have a West Sussex wide presence, were seen as integral to the community hubs that were being set up at the time by the district and borough councils. And basically, when I know the CEO at Age UK quite well, and I'd dropped her a note to say, look, we're here, we've got some resources if you need help, and instantly it was a kind of, yes, we do, we've got shopping. And of course we'd already started to think these are the practical sorts of things people will want as time goes on. But essentially what happened was we then sort of sat down and had the conversation about how are we going to hand off cases, all of what people would think is probably really boring stuff that you have to sort out around data sharing and GDPR and those types of things. But then, literally sort of within that week, we started getting referrals through and covering the sort of whole of the Chichester and district area. So of course that goes right up to sort of the Petworth area.
So we're now 4 or 5 weeks down from that. And how is that service going?
It's really busy, and it's quite complex to run.
So do you want to explain what the service is doing?
Sure. So there's really sort of two aspects to it. The first is around collecting prescriptions from pharmacists and then delivering those, and then the other service is shopping. So food shopping, essential food shopping, which is quite an interesting conversation to have with people about what they consider is essential. Yeah, we're getting a couple of referrals every day, and of course, once you've got a referral, you're then shopping for them on a regular basis thereafter, normally once a week or once a fortnight or whatever. So it's building really quickly. We will go and, best case scenario is somebody does a click and collect, and then we can just go pick up their shopping and take it to them. But a lot of people, we're actually doing the shop
Physical
for them.
shopping.
Yeah, for them as well. And bless, we've got one trustee where she's offered to get involved, and she's got 4 people that she shops for all together. And I think the shopping alone around Waitrose or wherever she goes is taking sort of 3 hours by the time she's done 4 different people's shopping. Yeah. Then she goes off to deliver them. And I was talking to her the other day, she said she's out of the house for like 4.5 hours just doing other people's shopping.
So Dan, you've seen one of those volunteers come in with, to do that. How do they find it? What's their kind of reaction to being able to do this sort of service?
What, to help out?
Yeah.
I think they're just pleased to be busy and to be needed, and doing something that's benefiting people who can't get out there. So I think enjoying it, but obviously would prefer not to be doing it, obviously, if this would just go away. But I think just to be involved, I think she's really pleased.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting, looking back over even like these first 3 weeks of just seeing how quickly we've been able to come together as a team, and sort of how robust we've been able to be, and sort of like being able to kind of pivot as quickly as we've been able to do as well. Okay, well, this is the end of week 3, so on to week 4. But thank you very much once again for listening, and we'll come back next time with week 4.
We will.
The end.